Ready, sir. Welcome back to What's a Skeet. Today we're joined by two interesting guests who truly love the Isle of Man. Breeshey Kermode grew up bilingual, with Manx Gaelic as her first language, and she's also very passionate about keeping the culture and language alive. Alongside her is Juan Christian, who grew up in Ballasalla, spent years in London working in bars and restaurants, and is now back on the island, working very hard, I believe, Juan. But today he's here to talk about all things Manx and his passion for the Isle of Man. Together, they'll chat about language, culture, and what makes life on the Isle of Man so unique. So, let's get into it.
Oh, yeah.
How are we? Good?
Fiavai, Gurmayat, very well, thank you.
Mardelua, that is okay.
Oh, well, fast am I to you.
Yeah. What about you? You good?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I mean,
Yeah.
we're here. We're filming once again, and I think it's an exciting one today. I don't know an awful lot about the Manx language whatsoever.
Oh, right.
As much as I have people say that I have a Manx accent, I have never took a class of Manx. I was never involved at school, unfortunately, so I'm very interested to see where this goes. So, firstly, so the listeners know what we're up to here and what we're on about. Breeshey, first time. Do you want to explain a little bit about your involvement with the Manx language and how you go about maybe teaching or preserving it, just so people have a bit of a base of this conversation?
Yeah, so my background, I'm really, really, really fortunate. I never asked. I didn't learn Manx as such. I was brought up speaking it. So my dad, he took it upon himself to learn the language when he was in his early 20s, and that was at the time where the language was really like struggling and suffering.
Right.
And he decided when he had me and my sisters that he wanted to bring us up speaking Manx as a first language in the home, as a kind of revival and, trying to get the language surging back again. And yeah, I'm very, very fortunate. I always say it's the greatest gift I've ever received that I never asked for. Yeah, I get quite emotional thinking about it because I don't know if I would have learnt Manx had my dad not did what he did. And so, yeah, me and my two sisters at home, that was our primary language. One of my earliest memories is I must have still been in nappies because I remember coming up the stairs like that. And I would be like, Bavaliat cabin the hay, the cabin the cafe. And that just means, do you want a cup of tea or a cup of coffee? And every time the answer was coffee. But I would always ask the question. And so, and then of course, it was a strange thing to then enter the school where everything's in English and everyone around you speaks English. So we almost felt a little bit odd in that we were the weird kids that spoke Manx.
Yes.
But we didn't really get a lot of, no one was mean about it. It's just the unknown, isn't it?
Isn't that bizarre how being on your own island, speaking your native language, you felt like an outsider in your own home almost?
Yeah, totally.
I think that's a bit bizarre, that.
Yeah, and there was a scutch of us. So there was a whole group of children that were the children of friends of my dad's who had the same upbringing, and some of them, I was too old for Bun School. We were kind of like sort of guinea pigs, I suppose, for the Bun School, and then some of them went through Bun School where they learned the entire curriculum through the Manx language. So, so growing up, it was purely at home. And then we would go and meet up with these other kids, and that was the only kind of setting I really got to speak Manx in. Whereas now that I'm older and I've met more of the people in that community, I can use it a lot more. So that's great. And me and my dad still to this day speak Manx to each other, and that's it. That's our language together.
That's quality, because children learn faster or pick things up faster than adults do, I suspect.
Yeah.
Like at 22, it'd probably be more difficult than a 4-year-old learning it, because they sort of pick it up, or from birth. I mean, you're going to learn it.
It's immersion, isn't it? I think is the key part.
Much
That's what
faster.
they have at the Bun School, because they're just all into what they do, and that's what you.
It's exposure really to the language itself, isn't it? So do you work at Bun School as well, or no?
I don't know. So I actually work for Biosphere Isle of Man, and a big part of Biosphere is actually the language and the culture. So I do get to do a little bit. We work closely with Bun School, we work closely with Culture Vannon. So I do get to do a little bit of Manx. I do our social media and I introduce each month in Manx and things like that. But yeah, that was an intrinsic part of the Biosphere designation, was the fact that we have this minority language, which is on a real revival.
So then where do you come into this, Juan?
Well, I met Breeshey when I came back from the UK and I opened my booze Compton Vaults.
Mm-hmm.
And no,
We
that's
met
that.
Forage and
Yeah,
Fitness. You
that's all
supplied my
lie.
beer.
Yeah, that's right. I was selling beer over here. My God, that's that.
We go way back.
Way back. So I started selling beer over here. And that's a rhyme. I didn't even know it. And from a beer distribution company I used to work for called Cave Direct, which were primary importers of Belgium and Bavaria beer into the UK. My dad wasn't well at the time, so I was kind of looking for ways that I could get some sneaky trips back home paid for.
Cheeky.
So I started doing events. We did an Oktoberfest, and you broke your finger, didn't you?
That's right.
Yeah, that was good. And I didn't, and I'd never met a fluent Manx speaker before. I'd been away for a while.
I haven't.
Still a
never
passionate Manx person. My accent was probably a little bit softer.
Yeah.
And and we hit it off pretty quickly via emails, and then I started coming over, and then, a year later or something, you helped me out in the pub quite a bit.
Yeah.
We
The infamous
been friends
Compton
since
Vaults,
then,
the famous
Compton
Compton
Vaults.
Vaults.
yeah, it was
And
good.
sorry to jump in, but
No,
I
go
must
for it.
just say that Juan is one of the most excitable and passionate people
Excitable.
when it comes to the Manx language and culture, as in in a very good way.
Yeah.
That he brings a lot of buzz and energy and enthusiasm.
Admired.
Good. So, what was it like for you growing up on the Isle of Man then, Juan? Were you exposed to Manx much? How old are you, sorry?
Gee, 44. Yeah.
44 years young.
Yeah, you're halfway there, aren't we?
So 40 years ago, late 80s, so to speak, early 80s. What was
Late
it? What was
80s,
the
yeah.
Manx exposure?
The opposite of Breeshey's. So, very, very Manx family.
Yeah.
All the way through. Both grandparents, all farmers. My granddad was born in Bala on Black Hill in St Mark's. Other granddad born out in Ballafletcher. Farming stock, all of that.
Yeah.
Brought up in Clagvane. But it was very apparent. I can remember at a very early age asking my mum why no one ever spoke Manx. So I would have been about 8. And she remembers being told by her teachers when she was at schools because it was useless. There was just no point. You're not going to need it. That was, and it wasn't necessarily how we approached it in the house, but we just didn't have any Manx.
Right.
So my dad I think he went to some lessons down in Ballasella Town Hall, but one of the things about Manx is because it is such a small little pocket.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to use it unless you are immersed in it.
Right.
To use it also. I've been learning properly now for about a year, and I'm very fortunate that I took a position at Munya Vega, so I use it a lot more now.
Right.
But because I use it in the home, some of my kids, my stepkids, they've just started using it a little bit. We had a friend, not a friend, but my partner's half brothers come over from the States, and when I got home from work yesterday, the kids had taught them some Manx.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. That's how it passes on, isn't it?
And I've never had to put any pressure on them. I know Verity. I do bring Verity to my Manx lessons, so she's very interested in it. But just if there had been a little bit more Manx in my house, perhaps my dad wasn't confident enough with it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Then I probably would have brought a little bit more as I was growing up. But then when you go away and you try to learn it and you're constantly interested in it and passionate about it, it wasn't really until I met Breeshey where Breeshey would really start teaching me some bits, and
we tried to do lessons together, but it got a bit chaotic.
Well, I mean, you've got a busy life. Everybody's busy, aren't they? You know how it is. Like 9 million different things to do around here a day.
Yeah.
And I'm not a teacher, so that was an eye opener for me because I'm thinking, where do I start? What do I do? And we'd end up going off on one.
You think that even though you can speak it, it's harder to teach it?
So, yeah, I have learned recently, and what's amazing is loads of people are learning Manx now, and it's great, but I've realised I definitely am not a teacher. And
you're being hard on yourself.
Well, it's more that because of the way I learned Manx, I didn't necessarily sit down and learn the reading and writing aspect. And so I had to teach myself that later on in life. And because I've not had experience teaching, it would be a bit like me saying to you, go and teach this person English who doesn't speak English. And you're like, oh, okay.
Okay, where do I break this down
yeah.
from?
Yeah.
And because Manx doesn't directly translate into English, because it's so much older than English, it's really hard to explain to
Oh,
people.
boy.
Yeah. So things like, I think you'll appreciate this. The Manx for Guinness is Banyan of Eru, which means milk of the black cow. So the translations are so far different.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like, yeah, but. And June did really well when I was
No, I
teaching him.
didn't.
No, you did. And it was more so that we would just get a little bit off topic and
A wayward. Well, you
Yeah,
pair do
yeah.
seem quite bubbly and
Yeah,
charismatic.
well, and, you know,
so
friends, and we talk about. It's always Manx stuff we talk about.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we
that's
do
true.
go out on tangents. But one thing, you were using me as a guinea pig to try and see how you got on teaching.
Yeah.
But you couldn't have picked the worst person to try and teach something. Like I
I've got a few
struggle.
comments to make there, but I don't think I'll make them.
I have enough trouble with me grasp with English. But I never paid attention at school when it came to, you know, English language and English literature. One of my girls now, one of my stepkids, she's just got GCSE results, and
Yeah.
you know, when I got my GCSE results, in order for me to do my A levels, I had to resit English, I had to resit maths. I think it was pretty much how it went. You know?
Yes.
So I never paid attention. So when it comes to somebody teaching you a language, you're also, when it comes to me, they're teaching me like English, like what's
The
or-
transcribing
like
of it.
all the grammar like terms, they were just all so lost to me. So
And everyone
You-
has different learning styles as well, don't they?
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah. And that's an interesting point because, for example, growing up bilingual, I'm convinced that helped me with language because this is going to sound really big-headed, but I breezed my way through English and I picked up other languages really easily as well. So
Apparently,
Yeah.
that's a recurring thing.
It is.
yeah.
That's a massive deal with children who learn two languages. I've got a friend who speaks German as well as English, and he can pick
Pick up
other
languages
languages
pretty
up
easily.
quite quickly.
It opens that like part of your brain more, I think. So,
Yeah, see, I don't think my brain can. I'm a bit like
Yeah.
on over here. It's not my forte.
Very
I don't
practical.
think. Very practical with my hands
Processes and systems.
and
okay.
talking and
Yeah.
it being curious,
Yeah.
but actually learning and trying to I don't know if I'd remember that Guinness is translated to that. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
That how on earth, Breeshey, do you in your head when you're speaking English, are you transcribing it in your head in Manx, or are you
That's an interesting
translating
question.
it in English to Manx?
So that's a very good question. When I was younger, I would think in Manx and dream in Manx, and then
Really?
Yeah.
Dreaming Manx?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
cracking,
Love
let's
a
get
good-
into this.
love a
Get
good
right
I'll
into
write
this.
some of this now.
Yeah. So, but over the years, and because I wasn't using it very much, and particularly when I went away and stuff to live in Cornwall and that changed and that shifted. But then now I'd say it flits between the two. And some days I'm just speaking Manglish and it's just wild and like
It's wild
yeah,
in there.
yeah. And then like when we went to a Celtic festival last month in Brittany, and you're trying to speak French and then and it's just like, bleh. But
Really?
I'd say it now is swaying back around more to the Manx thinking side because of me using it more again.
Yes.
But yeah, it flits. It's
Really? So right now when you're talking to us, are you thinking of a reply in Manx as well as English? Or do you only think it in one?
I would say
Or did you switch filter from Manx to English
yeah,
at the moment?
Yeah, I'd switch it. Yeah, switch the filter. Yeah. So
And that's the
Right.
hardest thing about learning, because I've had many Manx teachers, James and Mira Breeshey. I spent a lot of time with a gentleman called Adrian Kane, and Ruth Keggingall is my Manx teacher.
Yeah.
she's a great teacher.
And they're all brilliant, and I feel really bad for them because like the amount of times they have to repeat. And so they did an intense course over in Cunrick, and I did 5 days, and Ruth was so good because she must have just seen me in the corner like that. Just
But
like
Overwhelmed.
yeah.
But I witnessed your Manx getting well better in that.
It is getting better because like the teachers are so good because they deal with so many different levels in one class. So it's not like at school where you've got set 1, set 2, set 3. You get your course level and you all pass it, and then you move on to level 2, and then 2 will blend with 1 unless you've missed too much.
Okay.
So each class has a different level, and because everybody learns differently. Ruth was absolutely incredible. It just making sure she could see they've got a grasp of it. We can ask them that, Juan might need some help.
Juan in the corner over
Juan's
there,
sweating.
fiddling his fingers.
Yeah,
and just like,
yeah.
help.
But then I've come out of there, and then I go and I spend time with Breeshey, and I spend time with Adrian, and I can feel it's all in there. But what happens is it goes in English, and it's not an immediate. I've got to find it, so it's slow, and then I find it, and I have to remember how to say it, and then it comes out, and then it's a longer process. But I expect. Really, that's what it's like learning any language.
Yes.
So
and the understanding always comes first, and you've got to remember. We touched on this in our pre-chat.
Pep talk.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Woo, 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 woo. They were doing. Actually, funny enough, I walked out to the car park and they were both doing star jumps and press ups in the car park.
Yeah, and we were counting Gilk. We were like
psyching themselves up. They're like,
yeah.
Anyway,
That is the thing. It's a commitment. It's a commitment, and you'll understand it before you can then start speaking it. But you do have to really, realistically, if you're going to be speaking fluently any language that you learn, it's going to be a few years. You know?
Yeah.
But when the penny drops, it's like, oh.
But it's exactly what you say. It doesn't really matter what language you learn.
Yeah.
It's going to help you learn the next language.
Definitely.
Because you're opening those little electrical pathways in your brain that make your brain be a little bit more efficient. Your memory gets better. It's good for your, like a long task, like learning a language is so good for your mental health, because in the society that we live in, we've got phones, we've got Angry Birds, we've got Call of Duty, everything is here, or instant satisfaction. So we got gratitude straight away. That dopamine hit is there.
Yeah.
Whereas you get bigger highs of things that take longer. So old school things like learning practically, they make you feel a lot better. One of the reasons why I'd say running is so popular now is because it takes you a while to get relatively comfortable with it.
Yes.
And in the moment, like 6 months of practicing, getting out of bed and really sticking at it and trusting yourself and like learning how your body works again, maybe if you haven't done it for so long. And that's what learning a language does. And it's called delayed gratification.
And it's almost when you, do you know what? It's actually quite fascinating that, because since I've started talking and actually having not intellectual conversations but proper conversations without looking at your phone and actually having to think about a conversation, my mind feels more clear when I come out, because you're actually thinking and actually using your brain rather than just watching.
Being distracted.
It's really interesting how like your language can develop by just doing it, but doing it properly and actually being able to have a proper conversation is so healthy for you.
And one of the things about learning any language, but we'll use the Celtic languages as an example, is the words look so much different to how you hear them. But between Irish, Scottish, and Manx, and a little bit of Welsh and a little bit of Cornish, there will be a lot of similarities at some point. But even those words would look different. So one of the things that you were always key with me is I would send text messages and you would send voicemails and you would tell me off. She would say, I'm not bloody replying to you again. One more text message from you. You got to bloody... And because if you learn it and you hear it, then you're not getting as confused, because you're not having to read it. Or what does that word? How do you pronounce that? Because it's going straight in as it should be.
So what are the... Do you know like A-E-I-O-U in English? What is that in Manx?
So, interesting thing about the Manx language is it was always a spoken language. It was only translated into the current form. I don't know the exact year, but it was translated based on the English spelling system. So, all of the alphabetical letters, etc., are the same. There are certain little like accents and the little squiggle under the upside down question mark under the C that means ch, things like that. However, it's actually based on English spelling system. So that's another reason it can be quite difficult for people to... I've seen so many people learn and know and understand a word in Manx, then they see it written down and they start saying it wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because... It just throws the brain out, but it was actually written and translated based on the English spelling system, I believe. So.
We'll use our names as an example. Like,
it's great.
Anyway.
Let's get into that whilst we're here.
So like Juan is what I get called an awful lot when people don't know that Juan is a popular name. Like my son comes over and he knows me as Juan. He lives in the UK all his life, and he come over and then he's like, I'm like, well, Juan Hargreaves and Juan Callister, Juan this guy, and he's like, how many I thought you were the only one.
Yeah,
I'm like,
June's
no,
a very
it's
popular
a very popular name. But it wasn't until I started at Munivega and spent some time with Ruth Kegengel that actually all the times that I've been correcting people for calling me Ewan, I've been wrong. Now this is going to start happening now. Right? So if you're talking to me directly, this is correct, isn't it? My name is Ewan. But if you're talking about me, my name is Juan. And Juan's the casual name. Is that right? Is that the right way around?
Past tense or something.
That's right, isn't it?
I think so.
So I think so. If you're talking to me, I'm Ewan.
Right on the spot.
But if you're talking about me, it's Juan.
Yeah.
And Juan is the casual name for John, so it's the equivalent of Jack in Manx.
Yeah.
Jesus
J becomes
Christ,
Y.
you've just-
And it's also the
Very
same
rude
as
me there.
it's the same as Ian, Owen, Ewan.
And
And
my
o-
name,
and-
Breeshey, becomes Vreesha when you're
Yeah.
talking to me. And the E.
Vija.
Yeah,
so like Vreesha Keel.
Vrija.
Vreesha, yeah. So if you were to address me in Manx, you'd say Fast am I Vreesha.
Okay.
But then to introduce me to someone else, you'd say Show Breesha. And yeah, anyway, we don't want to make this
That's
too
good.
confusing.
So why is it EY and not A?
Okay,
Oh, this
so,
is a good one.
So this is
This is our
where
favourite one.
EY is pronounced in the Manx language. I realise I said before that it's based on an English spelling system, but obviously there's just some discrepancies going on. But yeah, it's just EY is there are a few little things like that. So Castletown, for example. Sorry, that's a bad example.
No, it's not.
Yeah, well,
Because people say it differently.
yeah. So 9 times out of 10, when you see EY written in Manx, the pronunciation is like an sound.
Usually, the surname Killia,
Okay.
it's pronounced Killia, but it's
Killia.
spelled EY.
It should be Killy.
No, it should be Killia, but some people would read it as Killy.
Killy. Okay.
So, and you got
Killia.
Ballakillia.
Yeah.
Put air in. It's spelled with an EY,
Yeah.
but it's pronounced Ballakillia.
And you will spot different spellings of the same word
Yeah.
in different places purely because of the journey the language has been on. And and that's why I always do say speak it first, listen first, and then, I mean, people learn, the way that I like to learn is to write stuff down, but I would write it in the phonetical sense that I understood it. But yeah, it's...
We're making it out to be really difficult.
No, I don't
It's
think you
easy,
are,
come
you
on.
know, right. But the weirdest part about that is you've just mentioned a couple of names there that I didn't even recognise were spelt in Manx, but they've always, in my head, that's just the way they're spelt.
Yeah.
And they're pronounced like this, but I didn't even, obviously I know that
So,
the
like,
Isle of
you
Man
was-
I know the Isle of Man is named in Manx, but I didn't
Yeah.
realise the difference in pronunciations. And I'm not a child anymore, but I'm somebody who's been brought up here for
Yeah.
years and didn't. It's just normal, but
Yeah.
didn't actually recognise like Ballakillia. I didn't know it was Ballakillia.
So you've already said Ballakillia, but
Ballakillia.
yeah, but you wouldn't know
Ballakillia.
with the EY. You've never taken any notice.
No,
of
I've
it.
never taken any
Yeah,
notice
it's
of it.
funny
Didn't
that,
even
isn't it? Yeah.
realise it. And I think there's probably a lot of people my age who maybe haven't been exposed to Manx who don't actually recognise
Yeah.
that they're sort of saying words in Manx accidentally.
Yeah.
That Manx you didn't know you knew.
Yeah.
Is that a real
Yeah,
thing?
That's something
That'd be
people
quite a
talk
lot.
about. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
What were you gonna
That's
say?
fascinating to me.
That's good.
That is fascinating. And would you say that the Manx language is reviving? It's coming back at a rapid rate?
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
In what sort of time period, since when do you think the boost really began there?
I mean, the Bun School has helped a lot. Bun School has meant that so kids who started there when it opened have now got their own kids who are speaking Manx as a first language.
So it's actually came round, the
Yeah.
circle's coming back round,
yeah,
perfect.
Absolutely, and that's where the language will thrive going forward. There's a huge amount of adult learners now. I don't know what the number is of people who speak Manx, but we touched on before the fact that
3% of the population by the last census.
Woo.
But that 3%.
All right,
That,
John.
that 3%
Brought the
will
stats.
making
Big
it up
data
as I'm
man
going
over
along.
here.
No, as far as I know, it's 3%. But that includes people like me. So I would say, so what's 3% of 89,000?
People like you.
Yeah, who like to think they know how to speak Manx. Do you know what I mean? We know a
Yeah.
little bit.
Stop it.
I don't stop it. But then you got fluent speakers. So the fluent speakers,
Hang on.
tiny.
How many fluent speakers are there on the Isle of Man?
Well, you see,
Not a clue.
I was maybe going to say at a push, and this is a
10?
semi-educated.
thinking
No,
that's
I
much
think
more,
I
much
think it's
more.
probably
Oh,
about
really?
500.
Yeah, I'd say
No.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
there is.
There's-
Hang on, 500.
Because you're talking
Alright,
about
that's
all
point-
generations,
that's-
aren't you?
0.05%.
It's not a lot.
But that is
Good
very
maths. Is that
exciting
good
to me
maths?
because when I was growing up, the only people I could speak Manx with was my dad and my sisters, and now I go to the Whitey in Peel every Thursday night, and we have a little Manx co-lotus conversation.
And there's lots of events down in the Albert in Portlamore as well.
Yes, yeah. So
because they're Manx speaking family.
Okay, so where do you think the region with the highest Manx people would be?
Peel,
Yeah, it's
the
Portlamore.
West. Yeah, I don't know why that is.
I reckon there's secret speakers in Portlamore still.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. I'd say more so because of the kind of the Bun Schools in St John's, and then you've got the cultural community of Peel. And Cruniac Celtic Gathering happens in Peel, and most of the people involved in that.
Yeah, very cultural in Peel, aren't you?
Yeah,
It's a very cultural spot, and it seems to be getting more cultural because the events that are going on there are really. What's that? Let me try to think about how to describe that. Sort of oozing Manx out of Peel.
Well,
at
that's
some
true.
points in the
I
year.
think a big one of the reasons maybe is because there's a lot of free houses and small businesses,
Yes.
so they get to dictate what they do. So if they have an interest in history, which why wouldn't you if you lived in Peel?
Yeah,
Because it's everywhere.
It is
and if
literally everywhere.
you've got an interest in Manx history, you're going to have a little bit of an interest in the language, and so people get involved. Like you got the Taipei in the White House, you got Black Dog Pizza,
That's good.
and that's just a couple, So there's a real good movement going on there. And it's definitely spreading. There's lots of people like me. So I do Ruth's lessons every Tuesday, and I was gobsmacked about how consistent the turn up was. I thought it would start with your 28, and then by the end of it,
it was on, sorry?
it was on Tuesdays. And she started. So we're starting level 2.
You're not missing it
next
tonight, are
week.
you?
No, it starts again on the 16th of September. But I was panicking. I thought it was tonight, and I was thinking, oh,
Trash the language.
yeah, I should be at my lesson. But and I was gobsmacked at how consistent the turn up was. Did you snort down the microphone?
Don't worry, I snort sometimes too.
And it was great. And now, because of people's genuine interest in it, Ruth she's now doing 2 lessons on a Tuesday night, and
like a beginner's class and a more mediocre class.
So she's going to be doing. So she's going to be doing the level 1, and you were at some of the level 1s with me as well.
Yeah,
you?
so
not like teacher, not like
I went
sitting
along,
next to me.
I went along to help Ruth out because of the lack of teaching skills.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, work's got a bit busy and some other things came up. But I would like to go back, but we couldn't sit together, could we?
No, we couldn't.
Like 2 naughty children at the back of the
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
Disgraceful behaviour.
And you know what was really, really good?
Slap on the wrist for you, Juan.
Obviously, I love Breeshey a lot.
Yeah.
She's a very good friend of mine. But my stepdaughter actually beat you at a game of Manx Uno, didn't she? Was it Uno?
She did.
Yeah, well, yeah, one of the games. Because kids, as we were saying before, they just
Quick.
goes in, and she, Verity's as bright as a button anyway.
Yeah.
So it would just be, and I was going to say earlier on too that as well as the Bun School, I think it's taught there's one less Manx lesson a week in all primary schools for year 5 and 6.
One less or one more?
One lesson.
Oh, one lesson.
Yeah,
Yes,
for the top 2
lessons.
classes. So there's 32 primary schools in the Isle of Man, and I'm pretty sure it's taught in all of them now.
But there was Manx lessons when I was at school.
There was
going
Manx at
round,
Castle Russia when I was there, but
vaguely at primary school at Arbury. I
Was
didn't
it
do
like-
it for some reason. I don't know why I didn't do it, but it was like a half an hour or something, and someone would come in,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'd rather be outside playing. So I
Yeah.
thought rather than being stuck in the classroom, I'd
Yeah.
go outside and scratch in the grass or whatever.
Well,
That was just the way I. That was just the way I was.
I could just, for some reason, you're rubbing your bum.
Yeah, just, like I've got worms or something down the hill. I used to love skidding down the banks. It was what I used to live for.
I think that was the same when I was at primary school, and that was another reason why a lot of kids didn't pick it up, because it was like you
It was
can
in
do
your own
this on a
time.
Wednesday lunchtime if
Yes.
you want to.
Yeah,
And it's
mine
like,
was
there's
mine was
one
Monday
kid there,
morning,
and it
so
was
I
me.
wouldn't go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably
really
lucky
wanted
to be out
to.
of bed, to be fair.
Yeah, well, we all were. Looking to have a bed when I was a bloody kid. Bloody hell, that.
Well, let's just bring it back a little bit now, and sort of get into the feeling of belonging when you're in those lessons.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're in a? I don't know, for Breeshey, who's maybe of an outside perspective, looking in, it'd probably be like, these guys are talking in pure gibberish here. However,
Probably.
You're doing really well.
when
very well.
you're in there and you're like speaking with people who are maybe at your level, do you feel like this weird
There's
cultural
lovely
belonging and
camaraderie.
Sort of like, okay, we're doing something great
Part
for the
of-
culture and the community of the Isle
Yeah,
of Man.
definitely. So what you're in there, you get a little bit nervous because it's difficult to learn when you're in a group of people. So if you're maybe not the most confident learner, like I'm definitely not,
Yeah.
I'd get so nervous, you know.
Really?
And I'm a bit of a gobshite, but I would get nervous because you just would, and I'd have to look after Verity, and she was a lot more confident than me. But when you come out of the end of it, you're like, we are doing something here, and like you look at them stats of the low numbers for the native speakers or the fluent speakers, and then there's more numbers of people like me, and that's a really nice thing to be part of. If you can, so like
that belong is almost like a little cult, isn't it?
It's maybe not a cult. I mean, if it brings the numbers in.
A little Manx language cult.
Well, I mean, wouldn't it be lovely if we had this little osmosis of people just sharing a little bit that they've learned to everybody?
Tremendous.
Because that's all it takes. We're not looking for somebody to be able to sit with Breeshey and talk for 5 days straight and not make any mistakes. We want a faster eye.
Yes.
When you're running past somebody on a push bike.
And little things like that for people when they come to the Isle
just,
of Man.
Like I get the bus a lot because I don't drive.
Right.
It's a bit shambles. But I'm the only person that's saying hello to the fairies, and you say but there's also different ways. But nobody really says it anymore. And I know that that's not necessarily a language thing. But it's a tradition thing, and it's not. You don't have to take it seriously. It's just a bit of fun.
Well, just to add on to that as well, I was saying to you before that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a fluent speaker or you're starting off and you've got some basic conversational words. Everyone, that entire whatever journey you're on with the language, it's a sense of identity. Like your language is your identity, and it adds to your sense of place. And I just think that sometimes, and I can 100% understand why, learners might be a bit, I can't speak to them because they're a fluent speaker.
Intimidated.
Yes. And I will, it does get like that sometimes.
And it is the least judgmental community of
and I'll
people.
agree with that, exactly.
We are so happy to just hear people trying to speak Manx, and I don't think there's anyone out there who would make anyone feel in any way silly for doing it. And so I would only encourage people to just try. And if you do mess it up, you mess it up. We mess up in English, you get you trip over your words. And I just think that it's just lovely. Like it's just this little community that's just growing and growing and growing. And it's ace.
That is totally ace, and it's sort of in my little notes here. I've got the sense of belonging, and I think that was something that I did really want to touch on, really, because I'm glad that is coming into the conversation, because that's what makes the community, isn't it? That sense of belonging, I think.
Yeah,
totally.
And it's very important that we keep hold of it.
I think 100%. I was one of the things I was going to maybe ask you is how does it
definitely
feel?
Ask me questions.
How does it feel for you?
Interview.
So I'm in the middle here because I'm trying to learn the language. I'd love to be at a stage where I'd never have to talk English to you, and that's just because that's where I want to be. I'd love, because as a Manx person, you need that tie-in, and the Isle of Man is very, like, if you're Manx on the Isle of Man, you know that there's a very small percentage of indigenous species here. It's just the way it is. You're looking at less than 30% of the Manx population are yeses, essentially. I'm talking, with surnames and indigenous family trees and all that sort of stuff. So how do we share that to people who maybe aren't as connected? Because
are you asking me that as a question?
I'm asking the room, but I'm going to tie it back into you, because you've got this amazing facility down here. You're obviously very Manx.
Yeah.
Do you feel bad for not learning or knowing? Do you know what I mean?
Right. So
my point being on there is how do we grow it outside the Manx community would be a nice thing, because you're talking about it being so important to be part of a culture because it's who you belong to. 70% of the people that are here may not have that same kind of connection. I walk out Fort Island, right, and I turn around and I look at Ronald's Way and I think of the Battle of Ronald's Way. Do you know what I mean? When the last Viking kings got absolutely battered by a Scottish-English army just to get rid of the Scandinavians, essentially.
Okay.
That's how I think wherever the hell I go.
Right, so
do you know
round
what I mean?
this question off. Hang on, round this question off. Where are we going here?
What
are you asking me?
So I'm wondering how you feel as a Manx person. Do you feel you could learn more? Would you go and learn more? And how do we, and this is to the room, how do we make people comfortable when they may not have that same kind of like yeehaw us Manx people have? Do you know what I mean? Because that's some of the problems we have with growing anything, like getting people engaged in our culture and our history, and recognizing that we're here and it's an incredibly interesting place.
Okay.
The language is just the surface of what they are. Like if somebody's new to the Isle of Man, it has some incredible history.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think as well with the cultural side, we were saying again before, like it's not for everyone. Like not every single person wants to learn Manx, and you shouldn't try and force anybody. But even the cultural aspect of it, like it's huge in farm and like the field names and Bab and Namelia, the baby that they make for the Melia harvest celebrations. Our Manx dances, our Manx songs.
It's big in the churches still.
Yeah, and it's all part and parcel of what's shaped the island.
It's an interesting question, I think. Let me let me have a little think about that for a second. Do I feel,
or has it changed the way you feel?
So, I would say, right, this is how I would probably put it from my perspective, because I've seem to have a Manx accent, and I don't really know where I got it from. To be quite honest, it sort of just happened. So my surname isn't Manx. Really, Hampton is not a Manx surname. That's actually an English surname. However, my family have lived in this house for 7 generations, I think, looking back on the family tree from what my grandmother says, who's originally a Madrigal. So I feel like my heritage is Manx. However, and I get told that I'm Manx quite often because I have a Manx accent.
This is
but then it switches back again. Because I feel Manx because my heritage is Manx, but I don't actually feel fully Manx because people are like, oh, can you speak the language? I'm like, no. And they'll be like, well, you're not.
That's what I'm trying to get at, because sometimes that can be a divide.
But it's not a divide for me, June, really, because I'm one of those people who will look at it from the situation and go, I fully feel Manx and very culturally believe in the purpose of doing Manx things. However, I just wasn't lucky enough to be exposed to it. Yeah. So if people approach me and say, oh, you Manx, I would say 100%.
Yeah, of course,
My grandfather, whose name was Hampton, he was 2 or 3 generations Manx, so it goes back quite a while from here. So I would say that I am a Manx person. I believe in the Manx traditions. The Manx language, realistically looking back, I wish I probably did learn at school. Yeah. I wish I would have attended those classes.
But it's a hard thing to put on a child as well, isn't it? It's almost like could and should be kind of a more intrinsic part of the curriculum.
Yeah, it should be like English, realistically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And why isn't it? Is what I want to know.
Probably because there's not enough people to teach it at the moment.
Yeah. And it's a big commitment.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about how to, the second part of your question now is how can we save it?
Well, how could we introduce more people to it? I suppose is probably the question. So, in Munyvega, one of the parts of my job is to engage with people like you and Breeshey on platforms like this, where people might go, you know what, actually, I fancy a bit of a challenge. I might learn a bit of Manx.
Okay, so
because I think my point is you don't have to be Manx to learn.
No, of course. And that's a message that needs to be pushed out.
Yeah.
So how you can, I don't know what, I don't follow Munyvega. Is it
Munyvega?
Munyvega's people. Yeah, I don't follow it massively, but I do follow Culture Van and keep an eye on what goes on there because it is an interest to me.
Yeah,
I think maybe, from my own opinion, in how it could develop and get pushed out there is more about it when people come in from the airport, come in from the boats. The first thing you see needs to be Manx people. So you'd have a Manx speaker, you'd have some Manx people who've done really successful things, Mark Cavendish, whoever else has done really, celebrate these people, celebrate the Manx speakers, rather than maybe banks, corporate things. We should be,
I see what you mean,
when people come in, it should be Manx, okay, and then there should be a place where people can go, okay, first thing we look at is what does the island have to offer if you're waiting for a taxi?
Yeah.
Have a sign that says, if you fancy doing something Manx, head here. If you've got a spare hour, hop on this bus and go here.
Yeah.
There's no exposure for the people who are coming to actually
less information to direct
a little
people,
bit less.
You got the welcome centre at the sea terminal, but that's not always open when the boat's
correct. And it could be something as simple as a sign next to the lift on the boat.
Yeah.
That says if you have a spare hour and a half, head here because you might learn a little.
Well, we were
bit.
talking about road signs and stuff before, really, and it's frustrating because when it comes to safety. Everything needs to be in a language that everybody understands.
Well, definitely.
Because that's just
definitely.
You don't want people. But there could be a little bit more.
Yeah.
With Gaelic.
And I'm interested to pick your brain there, Breeshey. Sorry to point at you, actually.
That's all right.
Over there, Yeah, you over there who's sitting quiet whilst me and June were down some weird rabbit hole. Like two cavemen, nutting heads.
Yeah.
So, how much involvement do you have in the culture van and social media?
None, absolutely zero. It is all James Franklin, who is an amazing content creator, videographer, etc. He rolls out all of their stuff.
You do the social media for
Biosphere. Yeah, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, James does a fantastic job on those.
Yeah, brilliant.
Their YouTube, I believe it's got all the videos you need to see, sort of thing. And
that's good.
And I think that's a really good way to engage people with the culture.
Yeah. 100%. Times are changing.
Because let's admit it, like people probably think that Manx is like some Yes's down Craig niche, like having a pipe.
It's not.
Still ploughing with a horse.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought I seen Neddy Madrill there.
Higging out with a hoe or something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's interesting.
But their videos, I think, bring it much more to life. It's much more modern, and there's so many things associated with Culture Van, and they massively support the Cruniacht Festival. I'm going to give it a little plug now, but every year in July there's this week-long Celtic festival. We see musicians, artists, dancers coming from all the Celtic nations, but there's different things to do to try and get people involved in the language. Like there was a cake making workshop, and it was just
any bonnet competition.
It was a bonnet making workshop.
I mean, who does
the lady who was making the bonnet, she didn't speak Manx, but Joe Collister had created a load of recipe sheets, and it was kind of like, you don't need to speak Manx, we're not going to force you to do it, but here's some words for fun, and we made butter and things like that. And yeah, so it's different aspects of it, but it's also a great opportunity to see some real Manx culture, dancing, and it's a great festival. So
I really like that.
There's a big upsurge in Irish Gaelic and Scottish.
Well, people are getting more patriotic, mate.
Yeah,
it's obvious.
There
people
is that.
Are getting more patriotic.
But people are also using mediums as music to really express themselves. So, me personally, I've played in bands and stuff. I love music, and this could be quite. But I'm not. I love pockets of Manx music, but because I wasn't exposed to it when I was young, I don't have the same kind of. You're mad about it, but there's bands like Kneecap. Everyone's heard of Kneecap, but there's dozens and dozens and dozens of Scottish and Irish and Welsh musicians who are taking the language and putting it in dance music. They're putting it in rock music. They're putting it in rap groups. So that itself is giving it a little bit more of a wider platform that. You don't have to be into farm, and you don't necessarily need to. Like, I'm a history geek. Do you know what I mean?
Have any really well-known Manx songs? Like really, 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 really,
Waxy Wheel?
Well, yes. But it's not in Manx.
This is your. There are some absolute belters.
I've heard some really good music, but there's a lot of people who haven't heard There's
some famous Manx musicians.
Why are we not getting some absolute bangers? Which link to the Manx music?
I do think it just all comes back around to that exposure thing and what people. Yeah, I don't know personally. I think that again, there's almost a bit of not hostility. I think some people, when they don't know or understand that scene, they might just be like, "Oh no, I don't know." But people like Black Dog Oven, for example, in Peel. Do you know Johnny Cacken?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's Chow Mui, which means outside in Manx, and he does DJ sets, and he was playing there in July for the Cruniacht Festival, and people were loving it because it's a DJ set, but then you've got Ned Madrill's voice like blasting out some Manx Gaelic.
And that is one of my favourite songs. That song makes you want to like just run really like you want to run over Brew when you listen to that.
And definitely keep the old folk songs, like the old folk songs are the heritage.
But there needs to be evolution.
There needs to be something that time does change and it all comes round in circles, and I get that. But at the moment, if the Manx language can follow the suit, surely.
And I think it's coming. There's so many talented young people.
Boy!
It's just ridiculous. And you've got a fella called Tom Coster who tours all over the world in his sister Isla. His Isla, isn't it?
There's loads of them.
I need to bring them on here.
No, you honest to God, reach out to these people because they. they play like, so there's a thing like every January called the Ilium Down memorial service.
Yeah.
And for 2 years I had it in my boozer because it was in Casttown, dead easy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like descended from Ilium Down's half brother,
Christians.
Captain John Christian, who was his half brother. And so it was a
All
great,
right, Mr. Big Boss.
so it was a real honour for me, and it all came via Breeshey. But I look back now, and there's famous fiddle players sitting in my boozer.
Yeah.
Daniel Quayle.
Yeah.
And
Mega.
Elizabeth, all playing in my, and they're playing
But do they
sellout
speak Manx?
festivals.
They
Yeah,
do.
Oh, they speak
they're all
fluent?
fluent speakers. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Bully
And
school
they're
children.
playing out. They're
Yeah.
selling out stadiums in America, and Scotland, and Wales, Australia, Switzerland.
Okay.
Aren't they all over the world?
Yeah.
But then they come back
Mega.
to the Isle of Man, and there's another thing in the
Not
Isle of Man.
salad, but they should be in the airport.
But well, you're
They should
right.
be-
There should be a poster of
They
them.
should be. They
Poster
should be
of
showing
you.
off what? Not me.
Yeah.
They want my big hairy head sat in the bloody airport. People turn around and go back.
Welcome, Belcher Emeritus.
Yeah. So that's a good one. So what's the most? What's your favourite? Start with you, Bijou. What's your favourite slogan or sort of term, or what do you call those phrases?
Careful now.
Phrases. What's your favourite phrase in Manx?
Oh,
Here,
goodness.
just absolutely swinging the conversation round.
that's good. I like it.
That is hard because I've never thought about this before.
You know how I'd say like Maura Mine Vegas is the only one I know.
Yeah.
If someone said to me, "Speak from
Cunha
Manx,"
Henya.
that's what I would say.
That's a good one.
Cunha Henry because it sounds filthy, but it's just hold your tongue. Is that correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cunha
Quiet.
Henry.
Come to hen.
Henya, Cunha Henya.
Come to
Oh,
hen.
nice.
So like, you know, when all the young, like when my stepdaughter brings her mates around,
Mm.
I teach them a few swear words, and that's a good one because it's not a swear word, but it sounds like a swear word.
Yes.
So I'll be walking down the street and I'll hear these little girls shouting, "Juan, Cunha Henya, ba!" And it's funny because they're speaking Manx,
Yeah.
Manx they didn't even know. And it's
Yeah.
But
just-
what
it's
about
just
for
like-
you, Bisha? Like, if you've got a favourite sentence,
It's very hard actually. I haven't had enough time to think about this, but there's so many like beautiful poetic Manx idioms and things actually. But there's I love the way we describe things. So, for example, a jellyfish in Manx is smuggrown, which means seal snot.
Mega.
Yeah, so there's loads and loads of things like that, which are just brilliant.
That's such a Manx term too. Isn't
yeah,
it? Like,
yeah.
Obviously, Manx
Seen
people
that
would
seal
call it.
snot over there.
Yeah.
There's some others. There's a rude one that I'm not going to say, just in case I get in trouble.
There's that
but,
rude song.
Oh yeah, there's
Is it about the
yeah.
window cleaner?
Juan, behave.
But,
Carry on,
but this is
Breeshey.
a funny story.
Carry
though.
on,
Bec-
Breeshey. Hang on, Juan. Take a step back there. I'm really interested in hearing here what Breeshey's favourite words are. We're having a show and tell.
Hedgehog's a good one. Arkansana, which can mean plentiful or bountiful little piglet.
Nice
Spiky
one, isn't it?
piglet.
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, there's a few. There's I got too much pressure to think of my favourite phrase or saying.
But then, if the listeners like, we'll probably start sort of rounding this slightly up now, and there's a few things that I'd like to highlight from you guys before we, as a nice little finisher. So, do you have like a couple of phrases or something like that people would maybe be interested in taking away?
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
like nice phrases that
Yeah.
you could say. Okay,
Like usable ones.
Yeah.
usable ones for the listeners. Speak, maybe have a little conversation between yourselves.
Oh,
in
don't do
Manx.
that because I'm not that good.
No,
so.
but a little
Well.
conversation between phrases so people actually hear it.
I think that one phrase that a lot of people have probably heard, and it's the go-to kind of this is the Manx phrase, is "tre the lua,"
Yeah.
which means time enough.
Yeah.
And the second half of that phrase is actually as on tre emis, which means and in my own time. So it often kind of gets flung about as the Manx are bloody lazy and they just don't. But it's actually time enough and in my own time. So that's a good one.
That's a
Tre
good
the lua.
one,
as
yeah.
on
There
tre
you go.
emis. What else have we got? I mean, yeah.
In a practical sense, if you go to the shop and you could drop down a Goramayad
Yeah.
every
yeah.
now and again, which is just thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good.
Goramayad.
Guramayad.
See, I did not even know that.
Yeah,
so thank you very
Guramayad,
much.
thank you.
And you're welcome.
Mhm.
Shade of A.
Shade of A.
And,
What about-
well done?
Jintamai.
And Gentamai. They are the things that I.
What about how
go
you
to.
doing?
Kissed out.
Kissed out.
Yeah, so
Uh-huh.
if it's the morning, Maramai wunya. All right, man. Kissed out. Maramai wunya, kissed out.
And
Yeah.
in answer to that, you can say brow, which is fine. You can say Maidalua, which
Tammy.
is okay, or
Tammy Brow, Tammy
yeah, and
Maidalua,
Fia Vai, very
Tammy
good.
Ski.
How would you say it's a beautiful morning today, Juan?
Oh, here,
Shall we go for a walk?
Hang on, I might be able to
Go
do
on, I'll
this.
let you
Hang on,
take
there is.
it.
You might need a bit of
Yeah.
edit. Say it again. What do you say?
It's a beautiful morning today.
Ta Ailen Muraju.
Yeah.
And what was the rest of it?
Can we go for a walk?
Can we?
Or shall we go for a walk?
I can say I am going for work. Tammy Goldus Shul. Tammy Goldus Son Shul.
Tammy Golson Shul. I'm going for a walk. So
Going for a walk.
it's a beautiful morning. Shall we go for a walk?
Yeah.
That would be Te Mora Ale and Jew, Ligden Golson Shul. Let's go for a walk, or Befaliat Golson Shul.
And
Would
is
you
there
like to
multiple
go?
ways to say things then?
There are, yeah, just like in English, and that can throw people off when they're learning. But again, it's better to know. So you can say Tammy Brown, Maidalua, and that means the same. It's kind of like I'm okay, I'm good enough, well enough. But it's better to know the different forms, because otherwise you're going to speak to someone and they're going to throw something new at you, and you're like, whoa, what? Yeah.
But also, there's names that Ailen. You must know some Ailen.
Yes.
And that's
Means beautiful. Yeah.
And Alwyn is river. Is that correct? Yeah.
Owen.
Arwen.
Yeah.
So you probably met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So you'll see a lot of Riat is view. So beautiful view, good view. Bala means farm or place. So Ballacrint is
Bala Whetstone.
farm on the hill, place on the hill. Yeah. Small farm, small place.
Really?
Yeah. So there's and you'll.
But you see Bally in Northern Ireland, and it's the same thing, isn't it?
It's the same meaning. Is there any
Or
link
town.
between Irish and Manx?
Massive link.
Yeah.
So Manx came from Irish.
Oh.
And so it's, and Scottish Gaelic as well. They're all kind of sister languages. And so, there's huge similarities.
And that Vikings Gaelic?
Celtic.
Celtic,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's all right. No, don't worry.
Celtic.
So
We
it's
do
all
borrow
Celtic.
some Norse words, though. Like
Yeah,
especially in place
Snaefell,
names.
for example. Like
Is that Norse?
Tinwald, yeah.
Tinwald's Norse?
Yeah.
Then you'll find, like, even in some parts of Northern England, but mostly up in Scotland, there's Dingwall, which is the same, which literally means the same thing, which is place at the Parliament. So they would have had these Tinwald type places everywhere, the North. But I also think, and this is just me skeeting, I'm pretty sure that there's lots of places in the Isle of Man where there was a Tinwald. There's Kilbane, which is up St Luke's Church in Baldwin. Lawn House. There's a site of Tinwald there because Castan was the ancient Parliament. Somebody told me there was one in Kermode as well.
Oh, right.
Because they were everywhere, all over the Isle of Man. Yeah. So the chances are there was, even what we celebrate is 10 when Godrith Crovan got here. Chances are the similar format of Parliament was being used before he got here. Because it was Norse here from like 800 up in Ramsey, and the Welsh were here as well, ruling for a little bit. The Welsh kings were born here. Went back to Wales. You know, we were ruled by the kings of Cumbria for a while.
Who were all Manx history book.
Are you obsessed with Manx history?
Always have been, but it kind of got worse in COVID because we had nothing to do.
So you just read?
Yeah, just read and scrolled and did loads of family history stuff. Like around here, there's loads of one of the things that we've often spoken about is we got a little bit obsessed with the Vikings on the Isle of Man. When really,
I've been down that hole.
Sorry.
People, not you and me.
I was like,
all right then. And if you think about the language, so when the Norse came down, they're like Shetland, solid Norse speakers, so to speak. Out Hebrides, a little bit more Gaelic, and then the Gaelic got stronger in the language the further away the Vikings got from Norway or Denmark. So when they got here, you got Fleshik, Viking, Foxdale, Viking, Derby, anything with an EY, Serby, Sulby. Yeah. I think the Irby bit is like the equivalent of Bala, so it's like homestead, place of. But if you think about Gaelic as a language, we survived that Norwegian invasion when they would have been here as essentially nice oppressors,
dictators.
Yeah, but they actually left with more Gaelic than we actually kept back as Norse.
Because that's culture, isn't it?
Yeah, so if we think that they left like their rulers, even though their families would have stayed, the Celtic language here survived that. And then, everybody sees it as Ned Madrill's the last speaker, I suppose. But there would have been.
Speaker,
well, he was the last known speaker.
But you speak Manx. So how is he the last speaker?
So this is I never
contentious.
used to call myself a native speaker because the whole narrative was Ned Madrill died and the language died with him. The reality is the language continued, and it wasn't in a sense of the language continued through people who spoke Manx from birth, but then the kind of neo-native speakers, I suppose, are the ones like myself and that Scottish kids who were brought up in the same way as I was. So I have recently started calling myself a native speaker, which is kind of mad that I thought that
That's
I couldn't.
right, though.
Yeah, and so I asked my dad, I was like, can I say that?
Yeah. But I think it's the right thing to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
definitely.
sure. And now there'll be loads of them, you know, like the kids that are coming. And don't get me wrong, you're going to have a less... So mine was very immersive with the Manx, whereas a lot of the Bun School kids' parents might not speak Manx, so they won't have it at home, but they're still being brought up. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I think that that's the key. That is getting these kids and then them having kids and da-da-da-da-da.
And getting the old spiral going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a nice message to start rounding
Yeah,
up, really, is that
absolutely.
things are looking positive.
Massively.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Huge.
And with the Munja Vega
Munjavega, yeah.
group, that's just going to help it as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
100%.
So there's a
I went to Munjavega.
Yeah, there's a Munjavega nursery, but there's also a charity. So I work for the charity part, which is one of my jobs is to work with people like you to try and encourage people to approach the language and the culture with a bit of optimism. You know, it's interesting, even if you're not from here. It's interesting.
You know what we should finish on?
What's that?
The
No, I'm not singing.
So I wasn't going to say that,
No,
but now. Next year is a big year.
Yes.
Great. Yes.
So, Year of the Manx Language, 2026. The whole year is dedicated to the Manx language. Culture Vannon are going to be doing loads of stuff. They're trying to encourage anyone and everyone to do anything and everything to do with Manx. There's going to be exhibitions at the museum. There's going to be... I don't know what else, but
the exhibitions.
You're doing stuff.
Yeah, we're doing stuff with Munya Vega. Some stuff ties into some of the stuff that you said that I can't talk about yet.
They're releasing grants for people to sign up and do stuff relating to Manx, and whether it's culture or art or music or dancing or whatever. So
and we're surrounded by it at the end of the day, aren't we?
So if you're going to learn some Manx, next year is the time to do it.
Absolutely tremendous, and that leads us nicely on to the sort of final question of the evening, realistically, and we always finish with this question every single podcast. So we spoke obviously very in depthly about the Isle of Man, which sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. It depends on the podcast, really. But I always try and tie it up at the end to some way of linking to the Isle of Man, and that sort of question is, if you guys, I mean, it can link to what we spoke about, but if you guys could change or improve one thing about the Isle of Man, what would it be and why? And it can be linked to the Manx language, but I feel like we sort of have pressed that can be changed and improved, can't it? But was there anything else? It can be... I mean, you want to hear some of the answers I've had about this. At the end of the year, I'm going to make a whole edit of the end questions, because they're fascinating and people have such a varied opinion of them.
Such a tricky one, isn't it?
I would just say more self-sustainable. That's it.
Yeah. I think we could do an awful lot more to help ourselves in exactly what you're talking about. I feel that farmers should get a lot more help with. Oh God, I was going to say, well, it's not necessarily imports, but with the produce.
Yeah,
we should be consuming more produce, more Manx produce.
Nips and tatties.
Yeah. You know, we've got everything we need, but for some reason we're not doing it. And until somebody really stamps down on that and figures it out, that we can be a little bit more standing on our own 3 feet. Hey!
Well, are you not standing at one at the top?
Well, we'll put one on. You know, and I think sustainability across the board with everything, like we could have our own, you know, we should be in control of our NHS a little bit more, you know, so the education we could be a little bit stronger on, everything that we could control
One thing.
One, oh yeah, that was like that was like 12. How many podcasts we doing here?
Oh mate, I mean, I think we definitely need to get you guys back on again.
Oh yeah, I would love it. Yeah.
Maybe next. I mean, obviously
for the year of our language.
This is going to be something. this podcast is going to be solidified here for a long time. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we're now leading
I think
one.
you're doing a wonderful thing.
But I think maybe January to launch the year
Yeah.
of Isle of Man. Maybe get yourselves, and we can
Ruth
in.
take
Book it in.
we can
We
take
can
a
bring some
third
more.
guest as well.
Yeah.
Ruth Kagan, maybe.
Yeah.
Whoever
Ruth would
whoever
go.
suits, just to maybe promote that and talk
Yeah.
in depth further with Ruth. So, and, a
Well,
different.
we've
sort of
already
view
put
at
Ruth
it.
for. We haven't asked her yet.
Sorry, Ruth.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
thank you very much for coming on.
Oh,
I
no,
really
so,
appreciate it.
Gora Mayu,
Sorry, Guru Mayu.
because there's more than one of us.
Let me.
Yeah.
You are getting
And
too
another
down this
word
rabbit
which
hole.
is lovely is Yindasak, which means wonderful.
Yindasak.
Yinsa.
Lovely word,
Yindasak
isn't it? Yeah,
evening.
Yindasak. Yeah.
Tremendous, guys. Thank you very much.
No,
I mean,
thanks.
hopefully,
Thanks for having us
hopefully
on.
people take something away from this,
I hope so.
and
We've
it
had a
fires
giggle
them
as
in the
well.
belly.
Yeah, get some
Yeah.
bloody fire in the belly.
Go remind one, yeah?
Thank you very much. Absolutely.